Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back. So why did I get rid of my PC and turn my back on Microsoft Windows forever? Well, pretty simple. Windows 11 kind of did it right there. When 11 first came out, I was impressed with the improvements to color palette coloration. It wasn't so washed out. Gaming was actually a little bit better. You know, it's like, wow, some really nice advantages here. Cyberpunk still wasn't running too bad. Actually, it did take a bit of a hit, so I upgraded the RAM to 32 gigs in my machine. That made Cyberpunk a lot more happier, and at least I got to crawl back up a little bit. Not quite 65 FPS as used to on Windows 10, however, but Cyberpunk is pretty demanding. I was still lacking on the 8 gig video card. It saw what I had in a computer when I fired it up, and it's like, I'm going to take all of that. Now it can run on a minimum of a 4 gig card without a problem, but you're going to have to run definitely some lower end graphics, right? And the thing I did learn was that even if you switched Windows 11 down to 1080 and the game to 1080, really didn't make that much difference. So hey, 2K it is for me because I prefer playing games in 2, 4, 5K anyhow, right? And I had the screens to do it, right? Even the newest screen I bought, which is the exact same one as this, very high hertz refresh rate, 1 millisecond delay, all the bells and whistles, okay? Runs 2K, runs 4K, no big deal, right? Very, very nice on the Mac. Not that great on Windows 10, of course, because Windows is Windows. It always has sucked graphically in comparison. But Windows 11 did show some promise, right? But then it's full of bugs, right? Took a little bit of chop on Far Cry 1, 2, and 3 and a few other games, but not that drastic. They were still extremely playable because they're nowhere near as demanding as Cyberpunk 2077 is, okay? It's really raunchy, okay? So, but I just don't have the money to upgrade to even an 8 gig video card, which I would still be lacking a little bit because Windows is still running in the background, still chewing up video from you anyway, right? So really you need something like about a 12 or a 16 gig video card, which pony up the dough, baby! Not cheap, okay? Especially for a half decent quality one. Which is still not going to really improve your graphical interface because it doesn't do that for you with Windows, okay? It doesn't do it, period. But it does help you play games much better, that's for sure. But it's too much more money. I'd already dumped over $3,000 into that computer in the last 2 years. And it's like, this is getting ridiculous. So I left Windows 11 behind for a bit, went back to 10, everything's happy, Cyberpunk's back to 65 FPS at medium graphics, I could go to Ultra, you know, with the 32 gig RAM upgrade, and it's still playable, but more playable on medium, still at 2K. Didn't really improve much going to 1080p, so it's like, might as well leave it at 2K. Looks better anyhow. So anyway, I gave it time. I gave it a couple months. Windows 11's had some updates. Apparently they fixed a bunch of stuff. Of course, other stuff too we hear about. Not good stuff either. Very bad stuff. But I thought, alright, let's give it a shot again. Far Cry 1, 2, and 3, they took a 50% plus hit. Now I'm still getting over 200 FPS out of these games at 2 and 4K, but that's a 50% hit from what I was getting. So do the math. Cyberpunk went from 65 FPS, no problems, right, at medium graphics, and got dumped down to 21 FPS on the lowest settings. Because anything even remotely higher would be like, ugh. Even worse. I'm like, are you kidding me? Windows 11 is getting this raunchy? Like, seriously, what's next? This is not good for the gaming community, okay? So yes, I can understand why people are going to stay with Windows 10 as long as they can, which is only about another 2.5 years anyway. And Microsoft, by the way, is not extending your timetable like they did with 8 and previous. They're not going to do that with 10 this time. They are serious. They are not messing around with people. You are going to comply and that's it. Or you can go buy a Mac or go to Linux or some other OS and leave Microsoft behind in that instance. But of course, with people running PCs, of course, this is problematic because even Linux does not have the access to the program availability that is out there on Windows platform, right? And this is going to make it extremely hard for the workplace too, right? Because even workplace machines are going to take performance hits running Windows 11, right? And I run a ton of software, so I've been dabbling with more than just video games here, right? But I've been running both platforms for decades, you know. Plus I'm, you know, also certified tech Apple PC as well. And I've seen a lot of changes over the years. Not always good for the PC world. Always great for Apple though. But I haven't really seen much improvement when it came to Windows, right? It's just not really changed. Sure, we added a little bit better interface look, but we're still really bad on other stuff, right? But they're still great for gaming machines. Well, now for gaming, they're starting to go, and I am not willing to spend a boat load of money just to make some games happy. It's ridiculous, you know? Now, granted, the M1 systems are not that great at gaming at this point. They can play a lot of games that have been now transported over to the M1 Silicon, yes. And they're doing much better than they were trying to run them under Rosetta, right? Because that's our little translator system, right? For running Intel-only based apps on the M1. We can do it through Rosetta. But what we can't do anymore on the Mac, thanks to Apple Silicon, actually it's more like thanks to Microsoft and Qualcomm screwing over Apple on this one, is we can't run Boot Camp with Windows, which gave us a very high performance edge in the Windows environment for many years on Intel Macs. Now, if you still have an Intel Mac that's a pretty good Mac, right? Like, I've always bought into the more expensive stuff, so I'm like, you know, I'm the iMac Pro guy. You know, I've had their laptops. Pro laptops are not pro laptops. That's nothing professional about those things. Well, they're getting to be now, which is fine. But for many years, not really so much, okay? I consider a professional machine to have some performance under the hood for the amount of exorbitant money you're paying, right? And this has not been the greatest experience for me, same as the MacBook Air, though it is the most popular selling laptop Apple has ever produced, because it's also their only cheapest laptop. But it is, nonetheless, their most popular selling laptop. It has never been a performing edge computer, and now the thing is on freaking steroids and a half. I mean, people buying MacBook Airs now from their Intel Mac Airs are going like, what happened? It's like, poof, done, poof, done. It's like, you know? So, do you really need to buy a Mac Mini? Not if you have an Air and you have 16 gigs of RAM and a half a terabyte hard drive at least. Base users go after the Air a lot, right? Because it's very inexpensive. Mac Minis, on the other hand, I mean, hey, the cheapest Mac Mini is about $900, but all you get is a box of power cord and a pretty sticker. You still gotta buy a keyboard and mouse for it, and it's kind of like, you know, I love the 2K panel on my MacBook Air. It is so nice, okay? But it's also small, right? It's a laptop after all, right? It's not a 32-inch display on a laptop. Can you imagine? Something that wide? Anyways, not going to happen. But when it comes to the Windows environment, though, after the last time I ran 11 with newest updates and the disaster it's made, oh my goodness, I am done. Okay, now I'm not saying I'm not going to keep repairing computers for people, because hey, if people want their computers repaired, I'll still repair them. But as far as me with personal ownership goes of PCs anymore, I'm finished. As soon as I can get the motivation to reload my Windows laptop that I still have and put 10 back on it, fresh copy, unregistered, you know, at least to me, I'm selling it. I'm done. There's no point. I've had enough of this whole Windows garbage. Things are going right down the tubes. It's kind of like Apple has finally gotten to a point where they can go, hoo-ah, right? Like literally in so many ways that they could never pull off with Intel chips, right? And it's scary. Intel is scared right now. They're teaming up. Who was it recently? Was it like Intel? I think I got it written down here somewhere. Yeah, Intel and Qualcomm. They're trying to beat Apple by 2023. I really don't see that happening. Okay, but that kind of depends on what Apple does. These M2 systems that are about to come out are really not that much more impressive than what we currently have. Okay, at least from what I've been seeing and hearing about. We have no official release of the actual full specs of everything, but they are working on apparently about 9 new Macs, and 2 of them are going to be released at WDC apparently, so we'll see what happens there. But regardless of the fact, I do see Apple really going places finally now that they're doing their own thing, because even I am thoroughly impressed even with my base model Air. It's an amazing machine for the money, and as long as you are very careful on how you run programs to stay away from swap space so you don't burn out that SSD drive in a year and a half, they're really freaking cool. And you don't have to buy just the base model. You can custom order 16 gig of RAM and up to a 2 terabyte drive in an Air. And the thing will last you for the next 10 years easily. And it's still going to be a very good performing system for years to come. So I could imagine, like, people who bought the Air M1 that have always been Air users, and how much they're going like, and they're still going, and they're still speechless, going, couldn't believe the power they now have. Like, it is freaking nuts, So it's pretty impressive. Gaming just isn't that impressive right at this point, but it's getting there, okay? Give them some time. It's new tech, right? But yeah, I'm done. I could sit here for 3 hours and tell you guys every single possible reason why I am done, but just take my word for it when it comes to what's been happening with gaming aspects alone, and how it has destroyed gaming. Yeah, no, I'm finished. Microsoft, they can stuff it. I'm finished. I will never support Microsoft again. I don't even support them as it is with their applications, because I don't like their applications, okay? They're pointless and useless to me, personally, okay? People on Mac, yes, they do use Microsoft stuff, because they have to for work or whatever reason. But, as far as the PC side of things go, but even Macintosh stuff with Microsoft, I'm kind of done. I'm, forget it, no more, done. History, with good reason. Very much good reason. And when you take that performance hit, by the way, with 11, especially the most current updates that are available right now with it, not only do you take that performance hit, but you're also going to see your thermals go up a lot higher too, which is something else I noticed, was processing, the processor as well as the video card thermals went up a lot more, even just at regular basic uses. That was something I noticed was also a difference as well, is the heat ranges. So it's even just on the OS level alone is really crunching down harder on video and harder on the processor and creating more heat than it did before. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it was an increase. But when you started to fire up a game that normally ran 400, now it's struggling to do 210 at the same levels, it's going to exponentially increase heat ranges in gaming, because gaming does cause a lot of heat. Kind of like video editing can cause a lot of thermals in computers. Gaming's the same way, okay? And you will see an increase because of the struggle. The game just can't cut loose as well as it did before, which things would actually run cooler with. So there's that aspect too. So it's kind of like, there's just too much wrong here, okay? And I don't see Microsoft fixing anything anytime soon, because all I've seen is things where initially they were pretty impressive, pretty good. I was pretty happy. Yes, I saw some speed chops a little bit on my Far Cry's especially, but I did see a little tiny drop on Cyberpunk. But then, of course, hey, you upgrade the RAM and things are, they're a little bit better, The other games, they came up a little bit more, still nowhere near what I was getting on 10. But then, now with the newest updates and everything has taken a 50 to a 75% hit in performance, this is bad. Okay, this is like really bad. Okay, so it's not just that, it's security issue problems that are going on with it, among other things. There's tons of YouTube videos, check it out. There's a lot of negativity about 11, and rightly so. Okay, But anyways, that's what I got for you guys today. If you want to know more, just feel free to ask. I'll do the best I can to answer in the comments. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next videos to come. See ya!